Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Mark, a trainer here at WEX Field Service Management, and today we are covering payments and collections. This webinar will cover payments from the customer page, processing a payment versus recording a payment, credits and refunds, how to take a payment without an invoice, stored payment methods, customer payment settings, customer statuses like putting an account on hold, taking payment from an invoice, searching for payments and getting into some payment reminders and reporting. And then we'll look at where you can find your transaction information, your statements, and setting user permissions. We'll do a live Q&A at the end where you can get your questions answered live on stream. And without further ado, let's dive into WEX FSM. All right. So the very first topic we're going to talk about is taking a payment or just really a payments overview from the customer page perspective. If I need to look at what's going on with payments for a customer, or I need to take a payment, I need to process a payment, I need to set someone up on a recurring payment, I want to see what payments they've made. A great place where you can do all of that is from the customer page. To find your customer, you'll type their name in the top right. We'll look for our customer, Justin. You do need to spell their name right. And then click on their name. As long as they're part of your customer list, they'll show up here. Once you make your way to any customer page, all customer pages have a payments tab. So right next to timeline, it says payments. Click on that. And we're just going to run through each of the options here. We're going to talk about all this. So the payments tab, first, it's going to tell you the balance of all outstanding invoices that this customer has. So we can see Justin here needs to pay some bills. This is our test account, so everybody's using this guy. But it's nice to know at first glance how much money someone owes you. And as they make payments, then this number total will go down. We have a couple options for taking a payment. So whether you're on the phone with the customer, someone has sent in a check that is going to pay for something, you're ready to take a payment, you've got some options. Process payment is going to process through WEX FSM and send the money to your bank account electronically. Record payment means you're recording that you are taking a payment, but it's not actually going to process the payment. That would be outside of WEX FSM. So whether you're using another card swiper from a different company, or you are taking, let's say, a cash payment that you still need to take that cash to the bank, you would use the record payment option. And then add credit or refund will allow you to add a credit to the account or a credit to a an invoice, let's say, or just give a straight up refund, which will refund back in the original payment method. So if they paid with the Visa number 1724, it's going to go back to that Visa card. If they paid cash, you'd want to refund cash back to them. So those are your different options, and let's get a little more detailed now on the processing and batching times. So when you process a payment, which that's going to process through WEX FSM, send the money to your bank account, what's the timeline on that? For processing debit and credit cards, that is going to be batched each day, and the cutoff time is 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. So you are taking payments throughout the entire day with cards, whether you're swiping them, whether you're manually entering that card information, credit and debit cards, you're taking those payments until 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. That's the cutoff. And then everything from that day will be in a batch that will batch overnight and is typically funded the next business day. So you'll see those payments sent to your bank account in the morning the next day, and that's for credit and debit card payments. For ACH and check payments, I'm in the office, I just got a check in the mail, I'm gonna now take this payment and apply it here. You can process checks, save yourself a trip to the bank, and process it directly through WEX FSM. It'll send the money to your bank account. However, the batch is a little different. For check payments, those are typically funded within 2 business days. And the batch cutoff time for checks is 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So you're entering your check payments in throughout the day. You get to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. That's the cutoff. And that goes into now a 2 day batch. So it won't be there the following morning. It will be there the morning after that. So a 2 day batch for ACH check payments. When you do record payment, that is not processing. That is just taking record of a payment that you've collected. So let's see this in action here. If I want to process a payment, I will click Process Payment. And we have a couple options here, and I want you to get familiar with this. You are able to, number one, search for an invoice. Let's say 12025. Type in that invoice number and then everything with that. Really, I typed in the job number, aka the invoice number. They all use the same numbers, so it stays tied back to the job. And here are the invoices that I may want to pay. You will also just see a list of invoices unpaid, and you can select one or multiple. Let's say I have a check that's going to pay for the last 3 jobs. I can do that. Select the invoice that you would like to pay for, scroll down, and then you can enter card information to take a card payment. You can enter bank account information if you want to do an ACH payment. And you can store customer payment info on file. We are PCI compliant, so you know that storing their information is secure. And if they have anything stored here, you will be able to select that and make a payment from that stored payment information. And then when you're done, once you have all the payment info, you'll do process payment, and then that will process the payment through your system. And so that is processing a payment with an invoice. So that means I created an invoice and now I'm taking a payment through the invoice. If I want to record a payment, it's the same process. We'll click record payment. Select your invoice you want to record a payment for. Select the payment method. Let's say they paid with cash today. And then you would record payment from there. Biggest difference, it's still going to show a record of the payment, but process payment is going to process and send it to your bank account. Record payment is not sending money to your bank account. It's just marking a record of it. Okay. Next, let me check. Yes. Next is credits and refunds. So if I click add a credit or refund, we can do a credit and refund at the same time, a credit only, or a refund only. Let's say I want to add a credit to their account. Maybe they had a bad customer experience, and we're just going to say, hey, we're going to go ahead and throw a credit on your account. There's different ways you can do this. So if I want to add a credit to a pre-existing invoice, I would just select that invoice, add the credit, and then that invoice, when you're looking at it, will show minus whatever the credit is. You'll see it, your customer will see it, it's documented. If I just want to add a credit to their account and that will just sit in their account until it's time to make a payment, you are able to use that credit to then apply that to uh, an invoice later. With that, you would just click credit without invoice. Let's say we want to add, a $50 credit and apply credit and done. And then if you see right here, it says customer has 3 payments and 3 credits that are not fully applied to an invoice. Click on that. These are now just waiting to be applied. So a couple use cases here. Let's say, so credit, that one is easy. I am going to give the customer a credit here. Let's say this is a credit for, well, here's the one we just made. Credit for 50 bucks. Now I just did a job for them. We need to apply this $50 credit to that invoice. Click on the edit button and then apply credit to invoice. Select the invoice you want to apply it to, and then, follow the prompts. This is, we want to give $50 credit. And there we go. Click save. And then that will just apply the credit to that invoice. And then for payments, you can take a payment without an invoice. Maybe you're on the phone with the customer. They are about to not be available for a couple days, but they are like, I'd like to pay you now for the work you're going to do. Apply that payment whenever you need to when you're done with the job. You don't want to turn down the money, but you haven't made the invoice yet and you're on the phone. They're ready to pay you right now. Don't turn down that money. You can come in and take a payment. Let's say we'll record payment. You can also do process payment, so either will work. And what we're going to do is instead of applying a payment to an invoice, we're just going to do payment without invoice. Let's say they're going to pay 100 bucks. And then, you put the payment method. Maybe they're paying with cash, or let's say a check. Enter the check number, and there you go. Hit record payment. That will add as an unassigned payment here. And then if I want to assign that, I can, let's say, here's that $100, that $100 check payment. Click the edit button. And then with this one, we can reassign payment. And now we can just assign this. Let's say I took the payment because I hadn't had an invoice ready. My technician went out, did the job, created the invoice. Now, from the office side, I can just select that invoice they created and take that payment. All right. Payments and credit by invoices will just show you the invoices that they have, what payments have been made, the payment type, the amount, and if there is any balance left over. This is really just a quick glance at their payment history. Payment plans, if you set them up on a recurring payment plan, you'll see the status of that here. If they decide to store an account, I know I have a couple, I've got my payment credentials added to a couple sites just to make it easier for me as the customer. Your customers may want to do the same, and you can just add their info here. And then if you do send statements to your customers, maybe you have a commercial customer, they require statements of work you do, you will see a history of those statements sent from here. All right, let me check my notes real quick. Perfect. Okay, so next, let's take a look at some payment settings and preferences. Still on the customer page, on the left side, we're going to scroll down to settings and preferences. From here, you can determine what type of payment methods you will even allow this customer to use. So let's say that for this customer, you only do very high ticket uh, items or really expensive uh, transactions, and you don't want them to pay with a card because then you're paying processing fees for making a really big debit card purchase. So I could come in here and say, I only want to allow check payments from this customer, and then click save. And then if they try to pay with card, it won't work. It will force them to use the payment method you have selected here. You can also update their defaults for payment terms. And this is all just done right here and click save. So let's say that for this customer, you want to set them up on a net 15. Even if you create an invoice for that customer and your default is due upon receipt, it will auto update to whatever setting you have here for this customer. So it gives you a little more control on payment terms and accepted payment methods. All right. So now let's look at payment syncing. So for context here, uh, your day to day, you're creating invoices in the field, and like your field technicians are taking payments. You are on the phone with customers in the office taking payments. Maybe you even have a lobby or a brick and mortar that customers come into and purchase things, and you're taking payments directly at your desk or in the front office. All of those payments, you're going to want a way to keep track of them. To do this, you can go to Jobs, Payment List. And the payment list is exactly what it sounds like. It's a big list of every payment in your entire system. So as payments are being made, you'll see those in a chronological order here. And you can search for payments. You can search by date range, by sync status, by payment type, payment method, payment status, and then you can toggle to show payments that are not assigned and reassign them. But another thing, if you're syncing to QuickBooks, you're going to see the sync statuses of these payments here. Payments will not sync until they have settled. So if someone makes a payment and then you immediately go and look in your QuickBooks to see if it has synced, it most likely won't be there because it needs time to settle. And once that settles, then it will sync. You can also click the drop down here, this little red caret arrow, to see the invoice that this payment was attached to, the total, and the balance left over. And if I click on the three dots here, I can edit the payment, change the customer, refund the payment, or delete the payment completely from record. Okay, so that is the payment list. Next, another thing you may want to do is collections. You're going to have customers who have outstanding balances, and you want to know who owes me money and how can I get them to pay me. And we have a great report for that. We're going to go to the receivables report. So first, go to reporting, which is in the main navigation here. Click on reporting. That will bring you to the reporting page. And then we're looking for the receivables report, which is in the accounting section, receivables. At first glance, the receivables report will just show you all of your receivables, aka all of your invoices in your system. Typically, if you're taking payments, you're taking them on an invoice that you have presented to your customer. And from here, there's a couple of ways that you can use this page, but we're talking about collections. How can I get my customers to pay their bills? And from this page, you can select all or select individual and send out payment reminders. So, an example, like a kind of daily thing that you may be doing, or maybe you're doing this once a week, you come in here and you say, out of all these receivables, who owes me money right now today? I want to send a reminder to them. I'm going to choose payment status and we're going to look for overdue. That means that they have a balance and it's past the due date. So they officially owe money. So we can see, even just so far this month in April, we have almost 10 grand out there in the world that we need to collect on. So I will click select all and send invoices. This is just showing who we're about to send this to, and then click send. That will then send a reminder to those customers, letting them know they have an unpaid balance. And it's really nice when a lot of people pay their bill all at one time after sending out a bulk reminder. All right, so that is receivables. Next, let's look at transaction history and statements. To do this, we're going to go to payment options, activity, transactions. Now, a transaction is going to be you taking a payment in your system. And this is just a nice place. Let me see. This is a test account, so we don't take real payments. So typically nothing shows up here, but let's see if we have anything from the past. Okay, this will work. Obviously for you, you're going to be taking payments every day. This is going to be a huge list here, but this allows you to see what batch this was settled in, whether it was what the status uh, is it still pending? Has it settled? Was it voided, etc. The payment amount, who it was from, the payment method, the type, and if it was connected to an invoice, the invoice number. And then from here, you can search by different batches. Maybe you just want to see your financing transactions. You just want to see your check transactions only. Good way to just look through actual processed transactions in your system from this page. And then for statements, we're going to go to payment options, activity, statements. And if you notice here, there's two options. You have processing statements and you have WEX Field Service Management statements. WEX Field Service Management is a statement of your subscription payments. So each month you pay a subscription to use WEX FSM. This is just a documentation of those payments for your subscription. In addition to that, you are also charged a processing fee every time you process a payment through WEX FSM. And so that is charged monthly as a batch as well. That's in addition to your subscription. And if you want to look at the details of your processing fees, this is where you would go. You would see your processing statements here. Next, and this will be the final topic before we get into our Q&A, is user permissions. And so if you want, you can set to where users will either have access to taking payments or not be able to take payments. And you control that from settings, user management, users. Each user will have these permissions. Let's open Dustin Bailey, our field technician. And then right here, these four: manually enter cards, manage recurring payments, perform credits and voids, perform financing actions. Whether they're an admin, an office, or a field, which of these actions do you want this user to be able to do? And just as a pro tip, if you notice, let's say your technician calls and says, "Hey, I'm trying to take a payment. I'm entering the card info right now, and it's not going through. What do I do?" Most of the time, it's because they have manually enter cards set to no, which is going to prevent them from taking a payment. So that'd be the first place I check if you run into that scenario. You just want to make sure people you do want to take payments, it's set to yes, and people that you don't want to take payments, set that to no. Any change that you make in your system, always make sure you hit save. There's a save button somewhere. Okay. So there you have it. That is all the information that we have for today's presentation. We are going to move to our Q&A now, but before we do, I just want to say thank you so much for joining. My name is Mark with WEX Field Service Management, and this has been Payments and Collections.